Gentlemen, welcome to the webinar. And we have a fabulous topic for you this morning or this afternoon, wherever you happen to be. And how will partner programs need to evolve to meet the needs of a post-COVID marketplace? And we've got a terrific panel for you today. But before we start introducing the panel, this is very much your webinar. So we urge everyone to get as involved as you possibly can. Ask a question, get involved in the discussion. And there are two ways to do that. You can virtually raise your hand on the bar at the right-hand side of your screen. We can then unmute you and you can ask a question live, or you can ask via the question module. So simply open up the question module, type in your question, and we will then pick up on that and ask the questions of our panelists. So please do get involved, do ask those questions, and we will be able to provide you with some very, very cool answers. So without further ado, let me start introducing our panelists. And our first panelist is Lisa Salvino. She's the Senior Client Manager with Vistex. She's worked in a marketing capacity in the high-tech industry for nearly 30 years. And she's held roles in product and channel marketing, marketing communications, and public relations. And in her 9 years with Vistex, she's managed the execution of channel programs for many high-tech and Fortune 500 clients. So, Lisa, tell us just a little bit about Vistex.
Thanks, Rod. So Vistex provides solutions that will manage pricing, incentive, rebates, rights and royalties, and channel programs. The software and the services that we offer are optimized for the high-tech industry, and we provide really an end-to-end solution that covers all of your programs. The end goal is really to give you an unprecedented visibility into the performance of your programs so that you are able to make fact-based decisions that will help you ultimately drive revenue, control your costs, and streamline your processes.
Fabulous. And our next panelist is Laz Gonzalez. And Laz is the Chief Strategy Officer at Zift. He's a prominent industry analyst and a thought leader who serves as I said, Chief Strategy Officer at Zift. He brings unparalleled channel expertise to the team. He served as strategic advisor to many leading business-to-business companies, advising on their channel programs worldwide. Many of you may know Laz from his time at Sirius, where his team published extensive research on channel best practice. And Laz has worked throughout the channel with OEMs, strategic alliances, distributors, and resellers during 2 decades as a channel practitioner himself. So Laz doesn't just talk about the channel, he's actually been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. So Laz, tell us a little bit about Zift.
Now you left out the gray hair. Well, Zift is on a mission, right, to align channel sales, marketing, and operations under one software platform. Today, we're the only software automation tool that is seen as a leader and ranked, though, by the leading analyst firms at PRM and channel marketing and learning management. And more importantly, we're working with programs of all sizes, including some of the world's largest suppliers like Dell and Cisco, where we have many relationships with the actual panelists here. What we're trying to do is help them really drive revenue and productivity, because we believe when the channel is connected, it can perform, and that's our mission on Earth. So glad to join the team.
Fabulous. And our third panelist is Gary Morris, and he's the CEO and founder of Successful Channels. Gary's a 25-year software tech entrepreneur and product marketing executive. He's also an active LinkedIn blogger on channel planning and performance management. His latest software company is Successful Channels, and they provide partner business planning, scorecarding, marketing planning, and QBR tools that integrate with PRM. And prior to tech, Gary held several corporate executive marketing roles with a number of major global brands. So Gary, tell us just a little bit more about Successful Channels.
Oh, thanks, Rod. At Successful Channels, we're taking the channel account manager and the partner marketing manager, basically giving them a big hug, giving them tools to help more effectively measure, manage, and motivate their partners with partner business planning tools, scorecarding tools, QBR tools. As a result, we fit into a broader ecosystem of PRM and CRM tools. So we're integrated with other vendors on this call. So we're friends with all other vendors, PRM systems, CRM systems, MDF systems, and we provide the tools to help build partner commitments, capabilities, and performance management.
Excellent. And our fourth panelist is Karlyn Bentley. And Karlyn is the VP of Client Partnership at Ansira. She's had nearly 2 decades of experience working with leading brands and their channel partners. She's been fabulously successful with Ansira, growing their client portfolio by 3 times over the last 5 years. She drives forward-thinking feature enhancements and has worked with companies like Cisco, Red Hat, Citrix, Microsoft, Sage, NetApp, and others. And Karlyn is passionate about the culture and food scene of Chicago City, where she lives with her 2 girls and husband, Ben, but loves weekends in Michigan. So, Karlyn, tell us just briefly about Ansira.
Thanks, Rod. And this is great attendance, so really looking forward to the conversation. So Ansira is basically a full service marketing agency, and we've actually been in business for over 100 years. So pretty remarkable when you kind of compare us to others in the agency space today. Through our various mergers and acquisitions over the years, we come with a full portfolio of solutions, including those catering towards strategy, performance marketing, MarTech consulting and integration, loyalty marketing, as well as channel partner marketing, which is very much so kind of the top of a conversation today. You know, primarily all these solutions come together and we really help our client brands and their partners keep a very hyper focus on customer experience. And that is typically what, you know, we typically go to market with most of our clients. So very happy to be here. Thanks, Rod.
Fabulous. So let's start by level setting everyone on the call. We have a couple of polls. So our first poll is a question. Where do you think your partners are struggling the most? You can tick more than one box. So is it the move to digital marketing, the move to remote selling, the move to remote servicing and support, a hold on major IT projects, or clients who are unable to pay them? Feel free to tick more than one box. And if everyone could vote, we've actually got about a third of the audience having voted at the moment. So keep those votes coming in. Over half of you have already voted. We'll keep the poll open for a few seconds longer. Keep those votes coming in. Let's get a really good answer to the poll. And you can tick more than one box. So almost 80% of you have voted, so I'll keep it open for another 5 seconds for the few laggards that haven't voted yet. And if we can now show the results of the poll. So biggest challenge we think is a hold on major IT projects. Closely followed by the move to digital marketing and the move to remote selling. We don't think our partners are having as much trouble with remote servicing and support or with clients who are unable to pay them. I've got to start with someone. So Laz, do you want to have a comment on those results?
Yeah, I'm looking at this with my analytical mind, and the first thing I hear is not that, but the feedback that I hear from partners when they say, you know, it feels like customers are hiding under a rock. You know, I think the projects are still there, and the need is still there, more importantly, for customers, ever more so with the need for more digital technologies serviced over the cloud. We need MSPs, we need resellers, we need all sorts of people to continue doing that. What is not really clear yet is the timing, right? The timing of the turnaround, whether it's going to be 3 months or 6 months. And I think that accounts for the majority of the respondents that you have here. I would say that I'm closer to the first two, which is around the digital marketing and selling. And that certainly is a new sea change for the channel on having to do that in a way that kind of disrupts that last mile service that they've been delivering, for years. So I think that I coincide with what's on here in terms of, the clients and the reluctance to commit, as well as the need to go remote and the need to really understand how to build those digital relationships where they used to be face to face.
Super. Karlyn, do you want to come in on this one?
I would say I agree with everything that Laz said. I mean, I would just say that I think a common thread and solution to many of these is just enhancing communication overall. So, definitely, more tailored messaging around, programs, added program tactic and activity types when you're coming and looking at incentive or MDF type programs, enablement programs. Maybe there's tips and tricks type FAQ communications that are going out that kind of allow partners to understand how they can quickly pivot and give them guidance there with maybe open office hours and things like that. But further segmenting communications that's relevant to partners by type, I think is really important. I mean, Laz hit on MSPs and things like that. I mean, they're needed more than ever, right? As, partners are augmenting and really focusing on, cybersecurity and cloud, type rollouts. They might need more resources and people to deploy those services. So, really making sure that partners get the communication and the training, to kind of increase and solve for those challenges that they're having today.
Excellent. And Gary, Lisa, do you want to come in on this one, or should we move on to the next poll and I'll have you comment on that one?
I would agree with both Laz and Karlyn. I think the biggest thing I'm hearing from partners is that they're struggling to have a virtual experience that is as meaningful as the face-to-face experiences that they were having in order to do business with their partners.
Okay. Gary, any final thoughts?
Well, the only thought is that, we hear over and over again is IT projects are being put on hold for no other reason than caution and uncertainty. But I agree with what Laz says. The demand is there. The need is there now more than ever. In fact, I'm illustrating that by being remote. Here I'm unfortunately in a car, but the demand is there. It's just everyone believing that it is now time to begin spending again.
Excellent. And we have one more poll before we get on to general questioning. And that's, which aspects of your partner program have you changed or are you looking to change this year? Again, check all that apply. Is it your Carpet MDF program? Is it increasing funding for sales and marketing training, extending time for deal registration, or increased incentives for new client acquisition? Or is it something else? So again, you can tick multiple boxes. Everyone's doing a splendid job of voting. Got almost 50% of people have voted now. So we'll keep the polls open, keep those votes coming in. Okay, almost 75% have now voted. So I'm going to keep the polls open for another 10 seconds to allow those that have yet to vote to come in and vote. So just any of you that haven't voted, last chance, last few seconds, and then we are going to show the results. So, which aspects of your partner program have you changed? Are you looking to change this year? Well, the number one is increased incentives for new client acquisition, followed by everyone very carefully looking at their Co-op and MDF program. A number of us, more than a third, increasing funding for sales and marketing training, but only 13% of us extending time for deal registration. And Gary, I came to you last on the last one, so maybe I can come to you first on this one.
Sure. I mean, I would say this is a great argument for partnering. Now more than ever, partners are even more important for a vendor's business than ever before. They need new client acquisition. They need partners to be independent, strong representatives of a vendor's brand in the marketplace. So I think that's great news. That's great news for all of us in the channel. So we need to focus on what can we do in this new remote world to enable stronger new client acquisition. I think that's a great sign.
Excellent. And Lisa, do you want to come in on this one?
I think these numbers are exactly what I'd expect to see based on the discussions that I'm having with the client, my manufacturers and partners. And I think that a lot of them are finding that the lead is more important at this point than closing the deal and continuing to build that pipeline, because kind of tagging onto what we said in the first poll about IT projects being on hold, I think that was, again, like Gary said, out of caution initially, but business has to go on. I believe over the next several months, we'll start to see, though they may be smaller in scale, that people will be executing on those. And then as far as co-op and MDF programs, I mean, that's a smart move. That's one of the things that has to take place right now, is that you need to be looking at your program and tailoring it. Perfect example, if you are a retailer and most of your business is done in the brick and mortar store, obviously you need to reroute those dollars. So I think these numbers look exactly where I'd expect them to be.
Excellent. And Laz, do you want to come in?
Yeah, while I don't disagree with any of this, I think something's being left out, and maybe that's what you see with 30% other. And I would say it's existing customers for two reasons. Number one, that in these times, it's really hard to do new client acquisition, and what companies are really struggling to do is maintain their customers and to continue the cash flows and the services and all those things. So I think that is as important as new client in the whole balance of things. Wanting to reduce churn, things like that. And then the second reason I think that's important is because many times new client to the supplier is existing customer to the partner, right? And as suppliers are trying to reach those new clients, they need to rely on partners who have already had an existing relationship but have been disrupted in their day-to-day contacts with those customers. And I think that's a much better area to spend time on.
Okay, fabulous. Karlyn, any final thoughts?
No, I was just going to add, just a couple comments based on, to Lisa's point, what she's seeing with clients that she's supporting today. So, a lot of the programs that we're supporting on our end for clients in the tech vertical have added, new activity types, for example, new digital tactics that are really kind of focused on incenting engagement, enablement, and other specific behaviors. And we're also seeing clients light up, supplemental concierge support teams, right? Whether those are in-house or outsourced to a third party. I really think partner outreach is incredibly important at this time, and having that one-on-one connection with partners really helps to provide guidance. Some of these partners are low maturity, and so maybe they don't know how to shift digitally from like live events, for example. And we want to really push them towards executing more digital marketing activities, and how do they do that, so that concierge can really help do that. Also, we're talking about changes. There are changes coming to these programs, like, every few months, if not monthly. And so I think, as you make these changes, continuing to collect feedback from partners that are participating and using that feedback to optimize the program based on that feedback, I think ultimately we create, deeper relationships with partners, but also a stronger program in the long run that can pivot easily in the future if something like this occurs again.
Okay, and keep those questions coming in. I'm getting a raft of questions coming in. I've got a great question here. What approach have you seen work to motivate channel partners to acquire net new customers? For example, if you look at rebates, credits towards additional training, upfront discounts, what's actually working at the moment? Laz, do you want to come in on that one?
I think I think it goes back to something that Karlyn just said, which is to try and find the net new customer, you have to change those tactics around and look for a lot more inbound than the proverbial email that you're sending out to customer lists or lists that you can acquire. So I see that, a lot of this is starting to gel in terms of making sure that the partner has the skill sets necessary to be able to leverage inbound. And if you want to see something that's working, I mean, social works, especially now. We've all become more social. We're interconnected. We're reading. We're following up on the updates. Social syndication is one of those tactics where, you send a message out and it gets repeated through a partner channel. And think about it. Partner's not there to hand over his business card today, but he is there to make the social connection over LinkedIn or whatever network they're using. So I think, the important tactics that are starting to work are those inbound tactics, social included, thought leadership included, but you need to deal with the gaps in understanding these tactics by the partners. And that might be, Karlyn, where those concierges can help.
Karlyn, do you want to come in on that?
No, I completely agree. And I mean, it's very obvious with a lot of the data that we're seeing coming in as we're processing activity coming through the system, huge spikes in social, huge spikes in SEO and SEM, sales incentives in general in the last 3 months for the data that we're capturing on clients has spiked over 300% over the last 3 months.
And Lisa, if I can take that another route, most partners didn't start a business from a marketing background. How do you go about if social becomes so important? It's not in every partner's DNA. Do you just focus on the ones that are good at it, or do you get involved in training? Do you set up a concierge program? What do you actually do?
I think the concierge program is the number one focus, because you can incorporate all of your partners, whether ones that are better at marketing and not so good at marketing. You've got everybody that you can incorporate into that. I think that it is important to be looking at your whole base because they all represent an opportunity to you in some way or another, especially when it comes to specialization and certification and training. You really need that partner base right now because servicing and training is not going to go away. Those upgrades, the partners, if you're in the end user customer, they're already your customer, and the training piece is going to be really important. So I wouldn't count. I'd especially focus on those partners.
Okay. And Gary, I've got a question that I think is right up your alley. What's best practice for benchmarking partners in a partner program? How's that changing?
Well, I think the traditional partner profiling activity of, the big difference is what is the value proposition to a partner? Typically, the value proposition of profiling is one way. We ask partners for information and we get it back to us. So we're looking to profile them based on the brands they sell, their strengths, their market coverage, their verticals, etc. But what I think the next evolution of that would be what I call life stage scorecarding, where we actually have a set of tools that get the partners immediate direct value, saying here's where you stand relative to our best practice, here's where you stand relative to your peers, and now let's create a custom action plan for how you can do that. So partners are much more likely to earnestly engage in a scorecarding process that is where they get direct immediate value. It's not just one way from the vendor to the partner. It's from the partner first and foremost gets value, and secondarily the vendor gets it.
Okay. And Lisa, do you want to come in on that one?
I think I couldn't say it any better than Gary did. I totally agree.
And I've got another question coming through now, which is great. Keep those questions coming, folks. And it's really a rider to that one. What's the best way to track ROI on a partner program? And I think the thinking behind that is very much if we're looking for partners to engage with new clients, but it is taking a lot longer for those deals to actually come through. How do you track that? And how do you then sell that as an ROI to the C-suite, because I know that with everything that's happening at the moment, the channel is under a lot of pressure. So I don't know who wants to come in on that one.
I would say it's an opportunity, definitely. I mean, whether COVID is a part of our life or not, the ROI piece is really critical. And I think it's important to be able to tie together activities that are where the money's being used against the deal registration. So if you can have the two connected so that you're able to follow, say, a 9-month sales cycle, a deal that's going to take 9 months to close, if you're able to see how much you spend, in the end, you have a pretty good idea of what that cost was. And I think, I mean, it sounds relatively simple, but really that is how you track ROI, and you can justify that, you know, hey, we spent X number of dollars, but look at what the sale to close was.
Karlyn, do you want to come in on that one?
No, I was going to say I agree with Lisa. I think, you know, requiring that leads be provided by partners for digital marketing activities and DG type activities is a must. And I think you just have to make it really easy for them to provide that reporting and insight to you. And then, you know, have integrations, you know, in place where you can easily provide or feed that into your CRM of choice and holistically show that end-to-end, you know, deal closure and pipeline, you know, detail. We're kind of doing that, you know, on our own with some clients. In some places we have an integration in place, like the one we have with Laz and Ziff Solutions for Cisco, for example. So it just depends on, you know, what that looks like and how to solve for that. But I think that's critical, linking those partner executed activities to leads and then ultimately giving that insight to clients.
Excellent. And got another great question following up on that one. What are best practices for training? For example, charging an annual amount and offering ongoing training for this fee? Should it be free? Should you have a formal certification program? So what thoughts have we got on marketing and sales training and how we can execute that in the best possible way? And also, should we be charging for it? Who wants to come in on that one? Lisa?
Well, I think certification is important. I think you may need to charge less where we're at now in the landscape of where we are today. I also think it's an opportunity to offer incentives around certification. So 2 for 1, you know, buy 1 certification, get 2 free, that kind of thing. Because again, you really want your partners right now certified. You could also, in the same way, incentivize them with rewards or, you know, co-op or MDF dollars. I know that we have a lot of clients that have certification specific programs around certification.
Laz, do you want to have a crack at that one?
Sure. You know, training from a broader sense can't be siloed. Training has to be interconnected to everything else that you're doing. So when you come into the program and you need to learn to use the portal, there should be some training there for you. Training should be there in the reporting. It should be a leading indicator. You know, the folks that have been certified in marketing, you should see an uptick in executed campaigns. So I think that training can't be siloed in a way that we just look at it one way. Just like Lisa mentioned, training could be part of your incentives program. The reward could be given to you after completing the course. I think that to do that, of course, you need to be able to look at training the same way that you look at deal registration, the same way that you look at planning. All of those things are bounded together. So best practices are to make sure that your training programs are integrated with some of the reporting and some of the steps that you're following. For example, marketing. You know, they say that training as a best practice, it's easier to get a partner into a 30-minute webinar to learn, let's continue the conversation on how to use social, right? So let's say you can do that and you can get 3 times the number of partners to attend that versus trying to get them to come to your marketing platform and use social. So why not use training as that lure to get them involved and then have a nice strong call to action and use your concierge and now be able to take them to the next step. That's what training looks like when it's integrated.
Okay, and I've got 2 or 3 comments now coming in. So I'd like to nail each of the panelists on this one. And the comments all revolve around charging or not charging. So, Laz, you're top left for me at the moment. So very quick answer. Are the majority of your technology clients charging or not charging for marketing training?
Right now, not because, especially because of the digital push and the digital learning. They want them to acquire these skills and they don't want to put a barrier in front of them.
Karlyn?
They're not charging. Same and sentiments as Laz. I mean, they really want to encourage, the support, especially during this time, and then also provide them with the skills to kind of move out of, live kind of networking to remote networking.
Okay. Gary?
Absolutely not. And what we have found, one of the most popular tools that we're using is this matrix segmentation. It's comparing potential with performance. So certification is a measure of potential. It's an indication of, does this partner have met the certifications that are necessary to perform well in the market, compared with the partners that are performing. So they can do comparisons. Are my high potential partners performing at their level, or are they not? Are my low potentials performing? So it's a nice segmentation metric to be able to focus on your high potential partners where there's latent value.
And Lisa, last but by no means least, to charge or not to charge for marketing training?
I have some that are still charging at a reduced rate right now, but they're also offering a lot of incentives around that. So like I said, the 2-for-1 or individual incentives for doing that. But there is also some that is free.
Okay. And perhaps I can come to you on this one, Karlyn. Someone's asking for more specifics. What does a concierge program look like? What really works?
So it's, we usually build them custom to our clients' needs and requirements. And so a lot of times, this most recent one, what we did was, part of it was a discovery session. So there was a subset of partners that were selected and targeted. And we had, engaged them with surveys just to understand, for example, where they're at in their marketing maturity. Are they low? Are they medium? And then, what areas, within their business segment are they trying to promote? What challenges are they having from a business standpoint? And then, that team member that did that interviewing, going back to our strategy team and really developing a very specific business plan, for that partner. Because again, every partner, depending on type, has different kind of challenges and business needs at this time. And I think it's very important to get that one-on-one approach and, solving for their marketing needs.
Okay. Anyone else want to come in on that one? Go, Laz.
Like many of our panelists, each one of our companies maintains a strong concierge offering because it's important. And the concierge plays this glue role where it kind of like ties everything together. We've started going down the path of being even more tactical with them. So if you're thinking about what they're trying to do, I think it's more along the lines of a Sherpa guiding the partner through the steps. And maybe the first thing is to get them excited about what you're offering them. So it might include a partner outreach where the concierge has a list of high-touch partners. You by no means want to try and do this with, a multitude of partners, but let's say you've got focus partners, have that outreach, and then include a number of webinars to follow, not necessarily with each individual one, but the ones that have been contacted, and then convert them to using something on the portal, for example. And that's what a real program looks like when it has to do with, marketing on a platform like ours.
So let me drill into that with you, Laz. Concierge program. I'm a partner. I want to do some marketing. You've got a concierge program. What specific things is that going to offer me? Are you going to do everything for me? Are you going to teach me to do things? What exactly are you going to be doing?
It goes back to something that Gary just said before around segmentation. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach. I can't use the same concierge services for you if you are a partner that doesn't have marketing resources versus, a high-touch partner that wants to sit down and start doing some marketing planning. Let's say you sit somewhere in between. What they could do is actually, number one, is teach you to fish. So they will take you to the portal. They will show you how to use the assets. They will show you how to launch your first campaign and enable you to continue doing this. That's one side. There are those that actually want the concierge to run the campaigns for them, right? And they might vary in need. It could be a high touch that doesn't have the resources to do this, or it could be just, you know, a number of partners that your concierge is just fulfilling this for. So again, that segmentation is really important, but it could be very prescriptive.
Lisa, any final thoughts on that one?
No, we work close with Laws, and he described it in perfect detail.
Okay.
Rod, can I make one comment on, because I think concierge is excellent, and it's a great way to get that extended services offering. But the other thing is, one of the biggest investments that channel companies make is in their channel account managers and their channel marketing managers. So in this new world of our virulent world and remote workplace, we've got companies need to work to help enable their channel managers and their partner marketing managers to become virtual concierge as well, to extend. So it's a complement of both concierge services from vendors, as well as enabling their channel account management team to become an expert business advisor, marketing advisor, sales planning advisor, etc.
Okay. I've got a great question here, which is my partners are asking for us to extend the terms for deal registration. I assume make them longer. I'm getting pushback from the CRO. So extend deal reg, keep it the same. Again, what are the majority of your clients actually doing at the moment? So Laz, again, your top left. So short answer, extend or not?
I would say extend under certain conditions. Look for the record, see if there's been changes in statuses, in dates. As long as the record is active, then it's okay to extend it because you see some activity. But if you see a record that's not active and is just stale in your database, then you should flush it out. I don't think you extend it at that point because it's probably there for a reason. So I say extend with conditions.
Lisa?
I'm hearing extend. That's overwhelming at this point.
Mm-hmm. Gary, any thoughts?
I completely agree with what they said. However, there is more crappy deal registrations that are in there that haven't been cleaned up. So I would say we can extend if you go back and clean up all those deal registrations that have been in there that are never going to convert. So give them the incentive to clean up deal registrations that aren't real opportunities.
Okay. And Karlyn, anything to add on that one?
I was going to say I agree. I mean, if they can show that they've had, you know, consistent activity with that deal, then yeah, I mean, definitely allow them to extend. But to Gary's point, I mean, I'm sure there is a lot of noise. I mean, managing my own CRM, there's some noise in there. So clean up more than ever is definitely a must right now.
Okay. Another great question that comes up time and time again, and I don't think there is a simple answer. What's the experience with channel partners where they pass the incentives on to their sales reps? How is that best executed? And I think that comes in two parts. I know there are a number of channel partners that don't want to pass the incentives on to the sales reps. There are some that do. How do you deal with a program like that? And I haven't started with you before, Lisa, or for a little while. Do you want to come in on that one?
I think there's no better time to do that than now, because you've got the end user reps who rely heavily on bonuses, and those may be scarce at this point. So individually incentivizing those reps is a motor, you know, it's a motivator for them to move the needle on what they've got going. So I would say absolutely, and now is definitely the time. It's one of the first things I would recommend.
Gary, any thoughts?
Well, I want to answer a slightly different question, which is my problem with sales incentives is that they're so often not coordinated with marketing activities. MDF budgets have one path. They're focusing on, let's say, network devices, and the sales incentives are working on security. So sales and marketing is not coordinated. So I would agree with what Lisa says, but I would also say, why can't incentives be requested and coordinated the same way MDF is? To have an integrated sales and marketing plan, an integrated funding plan for, so sales and marketing are all focusing on the same thing.
Okay. And a great question here. Basically, in the current time with the crisis, the absolute worst is the current time with the crisis, the absolute worst time to try and sign up new partners, especially if they're established and have vendors they are long and strong relationships with. How do you break through and get their attention? So, Karlyn, any thoughts on that one?
I think now is the best time to kind of see how brands are engaging with partners. And I think some are going to do it better than others. And so I think there's really an opportunity to humanize the approach and look at ways that you can potentially fill a gap and identify a way to get in there and have those conversations. You know, we just managing such a huge portfolio of tech clients. We know some that are doing some things right and some that aren't, you know, doing some things right. And, you know, the partners are being vocal about that. They're sharing that feedback, you know, well, so-and-so does it like this. Maybe you should consider that. And so I think just having, you know, those open conversations, surveying your partners currently, seeing what you can do better might help you get in, you know, with, you know, other partners that not necessarily taking advantage of, you know, your service offerings or service offerings or product solutions today.
Okay, Laz, do you want to come in on that one?
Hey, you know, we're seeing net new customers. Those customers are channel programs. They're recruiting partners. So I don't see like a fall off. I see that in key areas like security and, you know, cloud, you know, it's still very important to find the right partners there. So I think that that's important to note. It still falls back on the three things that partners want, right? They want to work with somebody who is a specialist in their market, so some best of breed in whatever narrow frame you want to draw that. I think that's important, that there's a win-win, so the partner's not walking into a one-sided relationship, that, you know, if you're giving them the win-win, what's the value proposition? And then at the end of the day, I think, you know, partners want to work with suppliers who are easy to do business with and will support them. Not that they give them false starts, make promises, and then when they need their help, they're not there to deliver. So I think that, you know, it falls back on those things. And if you're not finding the right partners, maybe somebody else is.
Okay. Anyone else want to come in on that one? I got a bunch of questions.
It's your value proposition. It's a different way of saying what Laz said is that the partners can easily, quickly read, is this vendor committed to my success, and can I be successful? Are they showing me a path to success?
And I have to say, we also run an MSP community, and they have signed up more new vendors in the last 4 months than in the previous 12 months put together. And a lot of that is because their clients are moving to home working, they're doing all sorts of other things. And so they're signing up vendors to help them in all sorts of areas where they didn't have, you know, vendors on board to do those things. Another question: if we need to make programs easier for our partners, do we need to reduce our compliance regulations? Who wants to come in on that one?
I'll take that, Rod. I think it isn't. It's less about compliance. It's more about performance reporting. I can tell you, I'm not going to name the vendors. I've been in about 10 different partner committee meetings with the channel executive teams, and these are some of the largest partners saying to their vendor channel chiefs, we've set up these plans. I have no idea where I am on your program requirements, sales, pipeline, certifications at any point in time of the year. They're not providing performance dashboards. They're not showing the user. They're not telling the partners where they stand. I don't think it's compliance as much as it is reporting, giving the partners actual real-time reporting on where they stand with performance to plan, pipeline to target, certifications, accreditations, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Lisa, any thoughts on that one?
I think compliance is a tough one to to mess with, because those rules that govern these programs are not changing. So we have to be really careful with how we approach the whole compliance piece. I think there are ways, I know that, there are ways that the client can set up their program. So there's sampling that's done. Maybe not every piece of, say, proof of performance gets looked at. They can do sampling, that kind of thing. But I also think you have to be cautious, because if you are, we just talked about bringing on new partners. If you are doing that, you have to be careful about setting an expectation for them, because a year from now, if you have requirements that are less today that are going to have to go back to quote, normal in 9 to 12 months, you don't want to set an unrealistic expectation for them now.
That's a great point.
And I think this is a good one for Karlyn. We've had a number of partners running virtual events, occasionally well, but mostly badly. What should we do to help them run those events more effectively?
So, I mean, I know we've used the word concierge so much, but, I definitely think that is one of the areas that a concierge can support. And I think also one of the challenges is a lot of times that partners don't have a holistic provider to launch virtual events. And I think that some of them are reluctant to subscribe to like an annual subscription model or something like that, because somehow there's some light at the tunnel that things are going to turn to normal and there actually is going to be live events. So, if you have a concierge, if you order prepackaged or support prepackaged marketing campaigns like, the ones that we support or Laz supports on the Ziff side, there's an opportunity to take advantage of a solution that can allow you to run a virtual event without having to invest in those dollars and sign a contract for, a 12-month term. And then also, with that comes monitoring, the actual webinar itself or the virtual event, polling like you were doing. So all of that stuff is kind of threaded in there to really kind of show the partner how a real virtual event should be run, along with sponsorship opportunities and all that. So I think, providing the training and the guidance, and if you don't want to leverage a concierge program, definitely having VODs or things like that really show them best practices on setting up a virtual webinar is a must.
So Lisa, should the vendors be signing up with a virtual event partner and offering that to their customers?
Well, I think that it's a smart move at this point, because again, I think we're going to find that virtual, again, a year from now, people may find that this virtual approach is working and it's acceptable. And if that truly is the case, which I think it will be, you have to be good. You're going to be good at your game. And these are the kinds of people that can help you, especially if you're a vendor that doesn't have, a lot of, and it can't provide that, training down to your partners or the resources.
Laz, thoughts on that one?
Hey, if I asked you to go create a conference for me and run it with all the details behind it, you'd have a hard time if you never did it before, right? And some of these partners aren't proficient at doing this. So for all the reasons that Karlyn and Lisa mentioned, you got to make this a seamless experience for them, help them along the way. What we've actually done with some of our joint customers is we've given them like an event in a box, right? So they could go into this marketing activity and it has all the adjoining presentations, scripts, email templates, etc., plus the form to fill out that would actually create the event. So you make it really easy for the partner to, use one of these, maybe even buy it using their MDF dollars, right? And execute it. But it's a detailed thing. You've got to be careful, or else, they could do a bad virtual event just like they could do a bad live event.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyone else want to come in on that one? No? Then have another question. A lot of these questions seem to revolve around marketing just at the moment. Content. How do we provide a stream of really good content for our partners when our partners are involved in so many very, very diverse markets? Lisa, do you want to take a shot at that one?
Well, I think that even if a partner is servicing multiple markets and verticals. I mean, there's got to be one that they're skilled at. I have one client I work with that focuses on making sure that their partners have one specific specialized vertical. Because if you have that, then you can develop the content around that. And obviously, right now, virtual, because we're all doing things digitally, content it can't hurt to have that.
Hey, Rod, I'll take that. So I think that LinkedIn is arguably, it's certainly in the top 3. It might be the #1 most important marketing channel for B2B, sophisticated sales. And enabling I'm getting to your response to your question, enabling your partner sales executives and your partner senior executives to develop their network with a trusted advisor, content-driven blogging strategy, it could have the biggest impact on developing deep relationships with target customers and real high quality leads. So I think as you're thinking about a content development strategy, it can be blogs or thought leadership that can be not literally cut and pasted, but can almost be cut and pasted and customized so that enabling the sales team of the partners to become publishers to their network and develop their expertise. I think that those kinds of content development strategies will have the biggest direct impact on developing high quality leads and enabling the partner sales team.
Okay, excellent. Any other thoughts, anyone?
I was just going to say that I think, having quick access to co-branded content, but still allowing, partners to be able to personalize and customize that message is very important and critical at this point. And channel engagement, software solutions, definitely support that. But I think a lot of our clients also offer, partners the ability to use like a service desk or a concierge to customize co-branded content offline. And a lot of times there's a lot of lag time, that goes into that, whole end-to-end life cycle. And so what we're seeing is a lot of clients aren't even just requiring partners to come to these channel engagement solutions, but also requiring those in-house agencies or third-party agencies that are delivering these service desk, PowerPoint presentations, ebooks, whatever they are, offline, are starting to leverage these software solutions to kind of get that content out to the partner more quickly, even if the partner's not accessing it themselves.
Okay, getting quite specific in some of these questions now. So partner surveys. We're being urged to get more feedback from our partners, but nobody's answering the survey. What can the panel suggest?
Why am I surprised? Look, if traditionally your efforts in the channel have been one and done, survey results will be no different, right? The partner expects you to send them something, they might or might not get back to it, and then send it back to you. I think when you're looking at developing a survey, let's say a survey strategy, you got to think about collecting data at different parts of the partner journey, not necessarily in one survey. So when they visit you at the portal, you could ask them a question. When they finish a marketing activity, you could ask them some questions. And there you build a 360 view of the partner, and not just 10 questions that you could fit on one page for them to answer.
I'll do it because this is what we do. Partner life stage scorecarding. Turn surveys into a life stage scorecarding. As Laz said, is sort of, it follows the journey, and it starts with the value proposition. Partners will earnestly participate in surveys if they get direct immediate value. Give them not only their responses, but how does that compare to a best practice? How does that compare to their peers? And based on where I am, what do I do? That's how you get partners to actively participate, and you get all the insights that you're looking for. So you're both parties win.
Okay, and we're almost out of time, so I'm going to come in with a final question for everyone. Let me start with Gary. I'll go clockwise. So Gary, if for the people on the call, if you're looking at your current program, what's the one thing you believe people should be looking at more closely at the moment, and why?
Well, our bias is partner program performance. Whatever your metrics are, sales, pipeline, certification, accreditation, whatever you're expecting from your partners, you're going to get so much more compliance and participation if you can provide them real-time reporting. In our platform, that is the #1 viewed page by a long shot. It's called the Partner Performance Dashboard. So they can see, and they're motivated. They want to set goals and they want to achieve their goals. They have no idea where they stand.
Okay. And Lisa, what one aspect of the partner program people should be looking at, and why?
I think listening to the partners, and that is all levels, all tiers, because the lower tiers are at this point going to be, I think, as important as the larger tiers. Your larger tiers have pipeline. I mean, they're going to continue to have the pipeline, but the smaller partners that may be your ISVs, your systems integrators, it's important to understand what they need right now. And in many cases, you're going to find it's a concierge service, just as Laz and Karlyn have been saying. But I would say that is the most critical thing. And then, of course, understanding the buyer's journey at this point, like where it is today. And I would say you need to do the same assessment in another 3 to 6 months, because whatever plan you have in place today, it's going to evolve over the next year, potentially several times.
Fabulous. Laz?
I would dial up digital, whether it's in planning, like Gary is advocating, whether it's in 2, through, and 4 partner marketing, you've got to dial up digital. Partners' experience with the customer has been disrupted. They're not good at this, and it's your role as a channel supplier who has been supporting these partners in your program to teach them, to fill in the gaps, to really drive the digital experience for them in a time when they need it most. Super.
And last but by no means least, Karlyn.
I was going to say I agree with everything that the panelists have said, but I think back to enhanced communication. I think it's more important than ever to have very tailored messaging. Whether that's around a program, service offerings, capabilities, enablement, and I think that has to be segmented. By partner type, and not just by partner type, but uniquely by partner persona, because even within those partner types, there's a lot of different types of partners that are interacting with channel programs, interacting, with your brand in general. And they need to have very specific messaging. And because, they should be responded to differently at any touch point, just because they're going through different things. We all have common challenges today, but each of them is suffering and challenged uniquely, I think.
Fabulous. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to the audience. You've been incredibly active during the webinar. I know we have a number of you who've asked questions that we haven't been able to get to. We'll be passing along those questions to our panelists, who promised faithfully to get back to us with the answers by the end of tomorrow. That's nailing them when they're face on at the moment. And we will then post them in the community before the end of tomorrow. But I'd like to say a huge thank you to Laz, to Karlyn, to Lisa, and to Gary for some terrific insights during the webinar, and great answers to a lot of really interesting questions. And as we close the webinar, there is a survey. We'll be offering a draw. Everyone who completes that survey will get a draw for a $100 Amazon card. So that'll be yet another Amazon delivery coming to your door in the next week or so. But please do spend a couple of moments to complete the survey. It's very important to us. But Laz, Karlyn, Lisa, Gary, thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you, Rod. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks to everyone.